If music be the food of love, play on, give me excess of it. Bit of Shakespeare there. Not sure if Shakespeare was in a band, and I'm not sure how much Shakespeare's coming up, but we do have some of the best music documentaries, so you can see why I said that stuff at the beginning. Anyway, let's go on with it. Charting a meteoric rise from his birth in 1967 in Washington to his death in 1994 at just the age of 27, this is the intimate portrait of an icon and a pop culture hero. Featuring interviews with those who knew him, never before heard music, sound collages from Cobain himself and artwork that he created, this is a film that gets you under the skin of someone who was a great music icon, but also a son, a father, and a husband. I was going to do this one all in Beatles lyrics, but I thought that's going to be a long and winding road, so I'll just let it be. Well, if you want to feel what it's like to have been in the Beatles, this one is about as close as you could possibly get. The traditional narrative around the Beatles in 1969 is that things weren't going very well. Peter Jackson's three-part series challenges that narrative by portraying young men who are still very much in love with the music and friends. Pieced together from over 50 hours of footage from the Let It Be sessions, this is a masterful piece of documentary making that culminates in that famous rooftop gig on the Apple building. The most successful all-female rock group of all time, the Go-Go's, were formed in 1978 in Los Angeles with Belinda Carlisle as their lead singer. Their 1981 album Beauty and the Beat put them on the map and went on to popularize new wave music across America. This critically acclaimed documentary from Alison Elwood tells the story of the band as they rise from the LA punk scene to become the first all-female group who play their own instruments and write their own songs to have a #1 album in America. And for Belinda Carlisle fans especially, this documentary proves that heaven is a place on earth. I wasn't going to do that. Kevin MacDonald's 2012 film tells the story of Bob Marley, someone who made brilliant music, but also brought the attention of the world to reggae and to Jamaican culture. Featuring interviews from people who knew him, including Rita Marley, Bunny Wailer, and Lee Scratch Perry, this is a documentary that gets under the skin of one of the great musicians of all time. If you were there then you'll know that Oasis were far more than just a band in the 1990s, they were a pop culture phenomenon. This film charts the story of two brothers and their friends as they go from playing backstreet pubs in Manchester to playing to hundreds of thousands of people in Nebworth Park in 1996. Framed by the famous sibling rivalry between Noel and Liam and against the backdrop of the aggressive 90s tabloid press, this is an electric and supersonic journey through the formation of one of the biggest bands Britain has ever produced. Directed by Amir Questlove Thompson, The Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised, tells the story of the 1969 Harlem Cultural Festival. Despite featuring some of the biggest names in music, from Gladys Knight and Stevie Wonder to Nina Simone, this festival has always had a relatively low profile in music history, until now. Following one of the biggest bands in the world through 2 turbulent years in their career, Some Kind of Monster is all about heavy metal legends Metallica. Sharing its name with a track from the St. Anger album that was being recorded during the time of this documentary, Some Kind of Monster takes you inside Metallica, one of the biggest rock bands in the world and the people that made it happen. Directed and produced by Todd Haynes, The Velvet Underground tells the story of one of the 1960s most avant-garde, arty and influential bands. Managed and promoted by famous artist Andy Warhol and led by Lou Reed, this band were hugely influential on punk music, new wave music and many other genres that were to come. Although at the time they were not necessarily a huge commercial success, their music continues to live on as one of the most important examples of its type from the era.